Okay. How are we doing today, Mr. Lowry?
Is it recording?
It's recording. On mine.
Oh.
You doing okay?
I'm okay.
Good.
You know,
I'm glad.
considering there's a world war and a pandemic.
Yeah, that's real bad. So I want to first tell you some things that I saw in your lesson that were really great. You had a really strong culture of achievement. I like that you were connecting everything back to goals. The timer was really good. You got all of the kids started on the do now on time. How do you think you can leverage that timer in the future?
The timer?
Yeah.
I definitely want to do it more when they're practicing, especially in the exit ticket, because I found that they take longer.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're getting close to star, right? And, you only have 4 minutes per question. And so I think I need to just use it at, the different points in the lesson, because I find when I have it up there and they know it's counting down and I'm calling the countdown, then they work more quickly.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I wouldn't have thought about using it to help them monitor the specific questions, but that is a great idea. How do you feel like today's lesson went?
I think it went okay. I was looking at the data. I've got my exit tickets here. I was looking at them before you came in, and I'm at about 60% got all the questions right.
Mm.
And I maybe 40 got one of them. So, okay, I guess.
Yeah. So I want to share a little bit of data with you that I saw when I was circulating the classroom. And I captured this right after you did the first guided question. So you have 23 kids in your class. Only 5 of them were able to actually answer the first question correctly, completely correctly, so that it looked like yours on the board. Out of the ones who couldn't, I saw that 6 of them didn't even set up the problem yet. So that's a big problem right away, right? 5 of them had multiplied the length of the side by just the number 4, because there's 4 sides. And then the others added, and we're doing perimeter.
We covered that just
say again?
They must be getting it confused because we did perimeter already, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a common misconception, right? So they're going to go to what they know. So based on that information and based on what you told me that you know about your exit tickets, what do you think you would have done differently if you had known in the lesson that you only had 5 kids who could set up the problem correctly?
Maybe I was thinking about having an anchor chart with the steps maybe or something, or just maybe they needed one more practice. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea. But you wouldn't have gone forward, right? Knowing that right now you've only got 5 kids. Those are the only 5 that you can guarantee are going to do well on the exit ticket.
No, I probably would have done, I would have done another example or something for sure.
Great. So I'm going to show you one way that you can make sure you know how many kids you have who can master that skill before you go into the exit ticket. So do you have something to write with and write on? Okay. So I want you to write down your action step. You ready? Okay. I want you to write down your action step. We'll go through the what in just a minute, but I just want to tell you first of all what it is, and that's actively monitor during the guided practice. Great. Can you, I'm not sharing my screen, am I?
Not yet.
Okay, let me share it. Okay, can you see that?
It should be coming here in just a second. Yes.
Okay.
I see a Word document. Oh, there's a video. Okay.
Yeah. So I know this is virtual, which I know is a little bit different from what you've been doing, but it's still a great example. So while we're watching this of a teacher doing some active monitoring, and she's even doing it virtually, I want you to look for 2 things. I want you to look for what does she do to make sure she sees each student's work. And then I want you to look for how do you know that she's focused on certain students?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to move us forward to the 20-minute mark. We don't have to watch the whole video.
I want to see you in the chat box. If I know the highlighted side is 11 yards, what do I know about the rest of the sides in that square?
Can you hear it?
I see Mallory in the chat box. I need to see everybody in the chat
video
box. So I know you all know. We've already talked about this when we talked about cubes. Come on, Ashley.
Miss, I put it in the...
Stay on mute. You guys know the expectations. If you have anything to say, you're always welcome to send me a private message. All right, so now I'm starting to see lots of responses in the chat box. Let's go to Sandra. Sandra, what do I know? If I know that that highlighted side is 11 yards and I know that the shape is a square, what do I know about the rest of the sides? Yeah, that they're going to be equal. So I know that then this side is 11 yards. And Brandon, I know this side is how many yards?
11.
Yep, 11 yards. We put Y for yards. And I know that this side is 11 yards. So now let's start to think. I'm looking for the area of a square. Well, yesterday we had a whole lesson on how we even read these reference guides. So look at the reference guide at the bottom. What formula would I use to find the area of a square? Addison, what formula would I use?
We would use 11 times 11.
Okay, tell me the formula. I agree with you, but before we even plug in what we know, I want to hear the formula. What would be the formula for a square?
It would be...
Look at your reference guide.
It would be... S times S.
Great. We have square, we look to the right, we have area equals S times S. Area equals S times S, so side times side. And then just like you told me, we can fill in what we know. Area equals 11 times 11. So just like when we were talking about the volume of a cube, when we're talking about a square, we only even need to know one of its sides to be able to find its area. So go ahead and solve, boys and girls. What is the area of this square? You can solve in pair deck. What is the area of this square? I can see Valeria already writing out her formula. I saw Addison already wrote out her formula. What is the area of this square? Brandon, I want to see your work. I don't want to just see numbers. I want to see work. What's the formula? What numbers did you plug in? And then I want to see that you're multiplying, guys. I don't want to see you multiplying these numbers in your head.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you notice? How do you know that she saw students work?
Well, I'm not too familiar with Pear Deck, but there must be some mechanism by which she was seeing. I mean, she saw exactly what they were doing or not doing. She even called on the one boy for just putting the numbers and not the formula. So, she's got to have some sort of mechanism there where she's able to literally see what every single scholar is just putting down.
And you knew that because what was she doing?
I mean, she was holding them accountable to exactly what she wanted, and she was saying when they weren't doing it.
Right, and she was literally calling them by name. Like, Valeria was doing this. I can see this person doing this. Yeah, she's narrating what she sees when students are meeting the expectation. And what about when students were not meeting the expectation? What was she doing?
She was pushing them to do it.
Yeah, she was saying, like, here's what I want to see. I don't want to just see numbers. I want to see you're actually multiplying. Awesome. And then what evidence do you have that she was calling on certain students on purpose?
Well, she called on, I lost count, but she called on at least like 4 kids, and she specifically called on them like by name. So it wasn't just like, does anyone know the answer? Does anyone like, who can tell me whatever? And the kids who she was calling on, like they didn't, especially the first girl, like she struggled to answer, right? Like but she stuck with her, and she was asked, because she asked her, what's the formula for finding the area of a square? And she stuck with her until she got the answer right.
Right, because she started...
She didn't know it right away.
Right, she started by saying it's 11 times 11, and she said, that's correct, I agree with you, but what's the actual formula? And so she made sure she knew that. And then did you notice she specifically called out Brandon twice because you might have noticed he seems to be one that he's just going to put down numbers, right? So she knew he's one I need to make sure I know, and so that's why she also called him out a couple of times. Very good. Awesome. So how does that look different from what you do in your class?
You mean, well, because we're not virtual, so you just mean like in general?
In general, yeah.
Yeah. I've not done a very good job of like cold calling. I feel like I typically will call on the kid who raises their hand.
Okay.
So that's one thing I could do differently. And then I think, I definitely, thinking about what you shared before, like I wouldn't have thought that only 5 kids had the problem right the first time. So I'm not checking in with them as much as I should be, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think you do tend to call on the kids who you know are going to get the right answer, which always feels good, right? And it's always a good model for the class too. But then we have all these other kids that we don't know about. Something else that she did too was she paused after the first step, which was to write out the formula, and made sure all of her students had it right before she moved on. Does that look like what you do in class?
I would have thought so, but I'm guessing not. If I think about like the exit tickets and where we are, like no.
Right, and what I saw today was you put up, you modeled one entire problem from start to finish, checkpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you released the students to do it. So if they were stuck on checkpoint 2, they're going to get the rest of it wrong because they didn't know how to finish half of the problem. So that's one of the benefits of pausing after each checkpoint. Make sure kids can do all of that. Great, let's go on and do the second part, okay? And then once they can do it chunked, you could move on and do a whole problem together. Okay, I want you to write down the how really quick. So you have the what, which is to actively monitor during guided practice. So I'm going to give you 3 quick steps about how you can make this happen in your classroom. Let me know when you're ready.
I've got my pencil, I'm ready.
Okay, so first step is to chunk your directions using your checkpoints. Step 2 is check the student work after each checkpoint.
Okay.
Step 3 is narrate the positive and give feedback at the point of error. Okay, and can you, just to make sure we've got them correct, can you read it back to me?
So my new action step is to actively monitor during guided practice, and to do that by chunking the directions using my checkpoints. I need to check student work and then narrate the positive and give correcting or adjusting feedback right at the point of error.
Perfect, excellent. We're going to actually practice this really quick. So before we do, I want to make sure you have everything